Do you know why I'm always ranting about getting your website shite together? It's because you cannot control the real estate known as social media, but you can control your own website. Plus, a solid website makes you look like a legitimate and serious musician, singer, songwriter, composer, performer, creator of musical things. If you don't yet have a solid website, please check out Bandzoogle. It was created by musicians for musicians. I'm a long-time WordPress designer, so there really was no reason for me to move my artist website over to Bandzoogle. But you know what? I did. I wanted to check it out for myself. And you know what? It's as easy to use as it gets, and you don't have to worry about all that maintenance and care stuff that comes with having your own website. The features and support are both incredible. See for yourself. Go to bandzoogle.com to start a 30-day free trial and use the promo code RABONZO to get 15% off your first year. Plans start at just $8.29 a month. That's bandzoogle.com, promo code RABONZO, ROBONZO, to start your free trial today. This episode is powered by ConvertKit. More than just an email marketing company, ConvertKit is focused on landing pages too, in order to give beginner creators the ability to build a quick website and start gathering email addresses. I've been using ConvertKit since early 2016. My, how time flies. ConvertKit's free plan allows creators to make unlimited landing pages and forms. Choose from multiple templates, add personalization and design, include an incentive email, create a thank you page, manage subscribers, and send broadcast emails. Plus, you'll get access to the ConvertKit community page where you can join groups, follow topics, post questions and comments, and interact with other creators. To connect with your audience and make a living doing the work you love with ConvertKit, go to the show notes for this episode or unstarvingmusician.com/ConvertKit. Let's do the show. Greetings, rock stars, and welcome to another episode of The Unstarving Musician. I'm your host, Robonzo. On this podcast, I have conversations with independent music artists and industry professionals. It's all intended to help indie artists be better at marketing, business, the creative process, and all the other things that empower us to do more of what we love, which is, of course, to make music. Do you want to help others find this podcast? You can do so by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. It really does help. The Unstarving Musician podcast is made possible through the generosity of listeners like you. One of the easiest ways to offer support is to join the Unstarving Musician community, and you can do so by going to unstarvingmusician.com and join right there on the homepage. As a member, you'll receive from me tips and lessons you can use in your music journey. And this is not just stuff coming from me and my years of experience as a gigging musician, but also from the hundreds of other musicians I've talked to as part of this project and podcast. You'll also get a free copy of the Unstarving Musician's Guide to Getting Paid Gigs ebook, and that is all free just for being part of the community. To learn more about the other ways of offering your support, please visit our sponsor page at unstarvingmusician.com/crowd-sponsor. All right, today's episode. SoundStorming is trying to disrupt the system that is the music industry, specifically how and where artists share their music. My guest for the episode is Alicia Rius, co-founder at SoundStorming, the app that allows artists to share their music with an ever-growing and supportive community from the very beginning of their creative journey. You can read about SoundStorming's rollout strategy in the show notes for this episode. Alicia and I talk about the inception of the idea for SoundStorming, how it all works for the artist, the beauty of collaboration and discovery in today's world of music, why we should be excited about the SoundStorming platform, how they plan to make money, and where the rest of the industry plays into the SoundStorming picture. This was a fun conversation for a number of reasons, including my background in tech, web, and my love of making music, of course. Find SoundStorming in the iOS App Store, and yes, it is coming to Android. And oh yes, it was also a fun conversation because Alicia Rius was a pleasure to talk to. Here is me and Alicia Rius of SoundStorming. You were telling me that, and I gathered prior to our call, you're from an area of Catalonia in Spain, and you're currently based in the LA area.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been there?
In California, 7 years, and in Los Angeles, 6 years. So we first moved to San Francisco with my husband Arnau, and then after a year we moved here in Los Angeles, which was the last city we wanted to live in ever. Like, we will never go to Los Angeles, and we've been here 10 years. So
and so SoundStorming, did you start it up since you've been in Los Angeles, right?
Correct. The idea came from Arnau while we were living in San Francisco. Okay. And I remember that evening in the couch when the idea came up.
Wow. How long has that been?
It was funny because it was just like a casual conversation about how he was struggling to connect with other musicians. That's been his thing. We met through advertising. We both were working in advertising. Mm-hmm. And because of our jobs, we kept moving from country to country. And we've been in different cities. And the first thing he would do was try to connect with musicians in a new city, to make new connections and friends. And when we were in Los Angeles, that was my fault, Los Angeles 6 years ago, we were talking about how hard it was just to connect with other people. And, he would just record ideas on his phone, send those ideas to his friends via text message, and then they would reply via email, and they had to collaborate on a separate software. And it was just like a conversation like, why isn't anything there that's easier? And we were like, yeah, I'm sure there's an app or something. And we started searching, and we didn't find any app that would allow casual collaboration for musical ideas in an easy way. And from that, and doing that research and starting to talking about hundreds of musicians, throughout, because that was just an idea, and we left it there, and then we pick it up on another day. And the more we talk about it with other people, we realize that the issue was for everybody. And it's when we discovered this amazing data that almost 99% of musicians, they record their ideas, musical ideas on their phones. That's the first thing they do. And that goes across from amateur musicians to celebrity level musicians. And we thought, wow, there's something here. And we were talking about the idea in a casual way for maybe a couple of years. And we're talking with friends. And then at that time, Arnau was already working for the agency who does the work for Apple. Mm-hmm. And the more we're sharing the idea, the more people will add to it. It was one of those things that you realize, like, okay, this is a good idea because we've been talking about it for 2 years now, and people can knock it out. People just add more ideas, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And that's when we decided, okay, there's something here, let's do it.
Has Arnau always been a collaborative musician? Has he always sought out people to create music with, or was he normally writing complete pieces on his own, or had he, or was he more of someone who liked to write with other people? Arnau is the kind of musician that he likes to play guitar for fun. And he's been playing the guitar since he was a kid. And he's the kind of guy who likes to improvise. He would just grab the guitar, go outside on the patio and start riffing some ideas. Mm-hmm. And then he would love to meet with friends and just jam and see what would come out. But he's never been the kind of musician who just would sit and write things. He's more into, having the flow of the moment and improvise. And for me, I consider him a very good guitarist. Mm-hmm. He would say, no, he's really bad, but I think he's good. And it's how I think because of that, he came up with the idea of SoundStorming, because he was always having these ideas coming to his mind anywhere, like in the car or just walking or just, watching TV. And he was like, I have to record this. And he would just grab the phone and record it. And then he wanted to share that with his friends or take them for a jamming session. But that's one thing we found out in Los Angeles. The distances are so big. It's really hard to meet with your friends anytime now. And plus, we are in our 30s. We have kids. Time is limited. And I miss those
collaborative moments. He loves to share his ideas. He loves sharing his creativity. And I don't consider myself a musician, although I play piano, and I'm learning the harmonica. I understand, his need of just opening up and sharing. I think we both believe that the more you share openly, it's when the best music comes out.
Sure. So for those that are unfamiliar with SoundStorming, currently it's for iOS only, right?
Correct.
I'm dying to know how... I looked over some of the... I believe it was licensing, legal information on the app.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to know, as best you can describe, in brief, how copyright works. Does it really change it much? So if myself or Arnaut goes on, collaborates, finishes a piece, wants to have it, produced and released into the wild, how does the copyright aspect of it work?
Okay, so I'm glad you're asking this, because that's, of course, the main concern from musicians about how to protect themselves. So the first thing we tell them is that SoundStorming, because you record an idea, just an idea, and that's why we encourage all musicians to use SoundStorming to record all the ideas there instead of any other software, is because when you record it, all your ideas get a timestamp. And that means that we tracked up to the second who created what and when. This way, in the future, let's say that you release something and somebody copies you, we have proof that you were the first to create that, because we have the original idea. Now, let's say that you collaborate with Arnaut. So the way SoundStorming works, you can record your song ideas and you keep them private for yourself in the profile. But if you make them public, people will find you on the discovery page and, of course, can listen to your track. And then they hit collaborate and they can start recording on top of you. So if you are a drummer and you put the drums, that is your idea, the original idea, and you own 100% of it. If Arnaut comes and adds the guitar on top, he owns the guitar 100%. So, and also SoundStorming never takes anything from any collaboration or any idea, even if that, in a while, let's say that you take it out of the platform and that becomes a hit. Even if it was born from SoundStorming, we don't take anything. We want to support artists 100%, and that's how we're trying to change things. So you own whatever you created. Now, we have an amazing case study where a 16-year-old producer from Nashville, his name is Boone, collaborated with a rapper from another state, and his name is Frico. And they just started collaborating on SoundStorming. And their collaboration was amazing. And they decided to take it out from the platform and continue developing in other platforms, because there's plenty of platforms to actually produce music. SoundStorming is not a music making tool. And then out there is they decided their own way who owns what, and they work on the split sheet. But SoundStorming, we keep things easy. You own what you created, and even if you collaborate, you own your part. And of course, all your ideas are protected.
Okay, so that brings me to a question I wanted to ask, and maybe not everyone, is already curious who might be listening to this. And let me give a little credit to the question here. It's not such a profound question as it one that just makes me laugh a little bit. It's an important question, but the way I'm going to ask will make me laugh a little bit, and hopefully you too. But I used to attend a tech meetup in San Francisco. God, I was realizing how long it has been since I attended this, and I think they're still going, SF New Tech, and it was founded by a guy named Miles Weisleiter, and so he would have tech startup founders on stage and pitch their product. So if you could imagine that's you today, and you're telling us about your product and why we should love it, and maybe, why we should put some money into it. Now, before I ask the question, do you mind if I swear, if I say a bad word?
Of course, I'm all into that word. I'm Spanish. We swear a lot.
I'm really, right? I shouldn't have asked. Okay, so Miles used to always ask this, which I would like to ask you, is how the fuck do you make money?
Sure. I love that question. So we have different streams of revenue. First, now SoundStorming is a free app for all musicians. And as I was listening to one of your podcasts with Untitled, I think, pronounced her last name.
Yeah.
And she talks about community and how to start. And as what we're saying, we started in the United States and we are approaching the next generation of musicians. That's our first hope. For that is why we're starting as a free platform. So it's a platform for everybody. The first stream of revenue is we're going to have in-app purchases. So people, of course, can buy different features. Then we have a subscription model. It's not yet in place, but we're working on it. Then we're going to have ad-supported, and we're going to have data monetization. So there's different levels.
So what are the current ideas for subscription?
Of course. So, for example, let me just tell you, like, in-app purchases, because subscription is going to include everything that we launch for in-app purchases.
Okay.
So in-app purchases, and again, because artists, we are aware that it's a very hard career to be a musician. We won't deny that. So, and right now with the coronavirus and everything that's happening, everybody's struggling economically. So we want to be able that people can still get the value by being able to afford certain features. So the in-app purchases may allow you to have longer recordings. SoundStorming is based on the idea of people recording their just musical ideas. And normally it takes like a minute and a half. So the first thing you will be able to do is to have longer recordings, maybe 3 minutes, we will say. Then unlimited storage. SoundStorming is a cloud-based platform, which is also one of the good things. All the ideas get stored in the cloud. So if you lose your phone, you don't lose all your ideas from the phone. They are protected. You will be able to have private groups. And then subscription model provides users with a deeper experience to help their development. For example, you're going to have premium features. So everything that is from the in-app purchases, plus having access to exclusive content or even direct connection with professionals, and be able, for example, to get feedback on ideas from professional artists, or maybe have offline recordings. So we have a pipeline of features that we want to add, but subscription will be it.
It sounds pretty interesting, and a lot of it sounds viable. So that's cool.
Yes.
I was thinking the first, and it was a little bit mine, I will admit, but the first thing maybe musicians will think is like, okay, how are these people going to make money off of me? But
exactly, how? I'm poor. No.
Yeah.
We'll make maybe like $1 per feature. These are things that we always keep the artist in mind, and we always say, SoundStorming, it's a platform made by musicians for musicians. And one of the things we do is like spend a lot of time talking to our users and understanding the struggles, what would they enjoy, what they are missing, what things they would pay for, how much would they pay for, because SoundStorming was always born from the idea to support artists. And yeah, has to be a way to make money, but it will have to be realistic. And of course, that's why we have other streams of revenue like ad-supported and data monetization, because then is where the big money is going to come. But at least it's like your podcast. It's supported by the listeners, people who believe in what you're doing. And artists, at the end of the day, this platform is to support their careers, to embrace their creativity, and $1 here or $1 there might get them to go farther without, getting ruined or something.
Sure. And it sounds like Arnau did that classic scratching his own itch. He was frustrated with this problem of finding musicians in new areas. And, I know that right now the narrative for SoundStorming is how great this is in our current bizarre climate of the pandemic. But when you first started describing the idea that you remember talking about. I was thinking back to all the years that I've been playing, and I've moved around a little bit as a musician. So my history's been like I spend some years establishing myself in a market, and then we've moved, and I'm in a completely new market, and then I have done it again. Not too many times, but enough times to think back what it was like when I was trying to find new musicians. And the first time I did it was from Dallas, Fort Worth to the San Francisco Bay Area, and there wasn't even iPhone yet. So Craigslist was my friend,
Yeah.
But with apps and our phones being connected to us to our hands and our hips these days, it's I realize it's a lot easier for us to venture into things like to look at these communities, whereas even back in the days of being limited to Craigslist, there was a little bit of barrier to entry, psychological, more so than getting into these communities and at least exploring it right away and seeing what's out there. And then as soon as you get past the, if you have this thing where you're worried about what someone's going to think of your idea, it sounds like it's really easy to do and to use. I have a user question. So, you mentioned the scenario. So I'm a drummer. I hear something Arnaud has contributed, and I'm like, oh, I got a great groove I want to send him. So, from a technology standpoint, I'm thinking, okay, I can't really record that very easily on my phone. It's just going to sound bad. So, are there options to upload something for that piece, or do I need to? Not that it's impossible by any means, but do I need to record it direct to the app? It's in the case of an in the case of an acoustic drummer like myself.
Yes, you will have to record it directly. A lot of people have asked about, can I upload my ideas? And the answer is no. Just to be protected, to protect ourselves from copyright infringement. As there was a case, we knew that people would upload recordings or songs from other groups or from the radio, and that could be, from a legal standpoint, that could jeopardize our company, and also to protect other users. And again, we try to really focus on the insights. About 99% of musicians recording their ideas on their phones. Mm-hmm. So let's say that you have that idea, you have to record it through SoundStorming. Mm-hmm. One good thing, though, is that anything, you can also record directly, like in line. So you're a DJ or you have an electric guitar, like you can plug in the amp and record directly to the iPhone. And one of the good things, we're trying to put a lot of effort into the audio quality. Yesterday, we just released a new version where the audio is really good, even for the collaboration. So it still sounds like pretty amazing.
Cool. And I mean, the problem I just described is surmountable for sure. But I was just thinking of the first time I grabbed my phone and literally recorded some drums just to see what it would sound like. I'm like, oh, that's pretty terrible. I'll have to get at least a mic that can handle the input in this room that I'm playing in. But there, obviously there are ways around it with a little bit of recording gear and software. Or miking gear and software. So do you, for people who might have the same question that I do you have a knowledge base with recommendations on different ways to approach that type of problem?
You mean like to get a better audio output?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things about SoundStorming is that we always loved the rawness of the sound. And as much as, for example, you're saying, we want to have a clear audio, something perfect. The beauty of the app is about this, sometimes you hear something on the background, you hear a voice, or you hear a bird. And that is what we believe gives soul to the song, because it's a story. And it's when we were watching, documentaries about how music was born, and whenever you only had one take on that vinyl, and you would hear the cracking sound of the wood or somebody walking farther away. It just gives soul, because suddenly you are imagining the audience, because there is no video. It's just the audio. So those little noises, that imperfection is what we believe is beauty to the sound. And because the audio is still good, it just gives you some context of what's going on at that moment of when that idea is being born. And for us, it's beautiful. Ideas or ways to approach it, there is many. There is, of course, ideas on how you can get something really clear. Of course, you have like a good recording studio, or the tools to connect it. There's even like accessories that you can plug directly into the phone for like little mics, etc. That would work. But again, we always try to encourage people like, hey, it doesn't need to be perfect. What is beautiful about our app, that by not making it perfect is when we are being more appealing to everybody. Because the truth to be said, not everybody has the tools or the space or the accessories to make it clear. And that's why I was like, hey, if you have an idea, it doesn't matter where you are, just put it out there. And that's what people like, encourage them to just keep creating content. It doesn't need to be perfect. There is no video, so it doesn't matter how you look or where you are. If there is background sound, it doesn't matter. Of course, it has some, still you have to hear what you're playing, but normally people is very careful. So people feel comfortable about sharing that rawness of the moment.
It makes sense. And when I first read about the idea, I thought, oh, that's cool. So I've got a place. Once I understood it, the concept, I have a place to put something that I was just putting on my phone now, and as you guys say, share it a lot faster, and also have a much more organized way to go through that. Because as it is now, like I'm thinking of a recent idea I put on my phone with the voice memo, and that thing kind of sucks for searching for anything. And I know that you guys your app is cataloging things for me, so that's nice. You mentioned unintentionally, I'm sure, or maybe intentionally, the case study, but in doing so, you mentioned the diversity of styles that exist in the community. I was curious to know if you and Arnau were surprised by the diversity, or maybe absence of a diversity, an amount of diversity that you expected, and I'm referring to the music styles. Have there been any surprises with the building of the community thus far?
There have been. One thing we knew about what you're saying about diversity, we knew that this would happen. Because the moment you open your creativity and you build a platform that is targeting all musicians, magic thing starts to happen. So we remember in the early days with our beta having, we have a friend who plays heavy metal and he's a drummer, and he put an idea there. And then a woman from here in California who is a classical flutist, she plays the flute in a classical band. Mm-hmm. She added a flute on that heavy metal drummer song, and it was amazing. She made it work. Well, kind of both made it work. And we thought, okay, what an incredible combination. But one thing is when you have your theory, and as what we're saying, if you put a platform out there that targets all levels of musicians, and I'm saying that just because right now we just consume 1% of all the music that is created. So, which is crazy, only 1% of all the music that is created. So imagine all the amazing things are happening in the rest of the 99%. And that's because musicians have to go through the funnel of everything until they get reach distribution. So that's why we all listen that 1%. So if we create a platform that goes to the beginning of the creative process, then is when, and people share those creativity, a lot of magical things are happening, or weird things in a good way, where people start to experiment. Because when you open, you're not afraid of all people are going to copy me, they're going to steal my idea. That actually, when you look at it, it's like a small percentage. When you open the process and you share your ideas, you're encouraging other people to do the same. And the people are not afraid to experiment. So suddenly it's fun to try new things. So the diversity is happening in that sense. Then, of course, other examples about people rapping on, kind of like on a techno base and people trying new things. Some things work really good. Some other things, not that good. But it's still this diversity that finally we're seeing it happening. Because, again, we had the theory like, oh, this is going to happen. It's going to be amazing. And then when you get to hear it in your own platform, like, wow, this is amazing. People is trying things here.
Yeah, interesting to observe, I'm sure. You mentioned Arlene Pakulin from one of my podcast episodes, and I'm just curious, as the creator of the podcast, I love Arlene. She's really interesting and inspiring. I'm curious to know what drew you to listen to that episode.
Yes. First, because she's a female artist, and second, because she was talking about community. Mm-hmm. And there is, from my point of view, and that's my personal experience about being a female co-founder in tech world, startup world, and music world, females are a minority. It's a small percentage, and of course, as we all know, we don't get the same opportunities. So the fact that I saw her name and what she was doing and talking about community, like, well, I wanna hear what's her perspective about the music and what are her thoughts about building a community and how she started it. And that's why I was drawn to her, because it's inevitable to be drawn to other people who might inspire you. It's like, okay, I want to, maybe it's also an artist that I can talk to, and there's maybe a way to collaborate with her with SoundStorming. Because at the end of the day, it's about supporting artists. But if, in my point of view, we can support even female artists, we wanna do that.
Well, let me tell you something, Alicia. Female artists are not a minority on my podcast. In fact, men have become a minority. I was complaining to my wife. I said, I've had some PR agencies, as you know, contacting me about artists that they, want to pitch as a guest for the podcast. And all of them are pitching women. And these are lovely women that I've had the opportunity to speak with. And I look forward to speaking with more of them. But I was complaining to my wife. I'm like, I'm not getting any guys. And she says, well, you perhaps are gaining a reputation as a very woman-friendly podcast and interviewer. I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but no, it's good. And I appreciate that, having. And at the end of the day, it's more like I'm saying, it's not about me. I think it's more about having an interesting product that is helping artists.
Sure.
It could happen that I'm part of the company. I'm a co-founder, but it's good. I think we're putting a lot of effort, the female community, and of course, a lot of male and female putting a lot of effort into trying to make things more equal. So it's good to see the wave changing and being more even, little by little.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, I love Arlene, and she's going to be excited that you mentioned her in our conversation. Do you know the company Bandzoogle, the website platform for musicians?
No.
So there's a guy, Dave Cool. He's been on the podcast, and I've been looking there. I'm an affiliate partner of theirs, but and I use the platform. And Dave, what was I going to say? Oh, Dave is largely responsible for the blog content of Bandzoogle, and they've been featuring platforms for live streaming and probably collaborative platforms as well. But I was thinking it would be great for you to connect with him, and I'm happy to make that happen. And hopefully you guys can have some good discussion. It seems like you're platform is worthy of some space in their blog. And
anything for each other, of course.
Yeah, and what made me think of him is that you said you were created by musicians for musicians, and that is very much a part of the narrative at Bandzoogle as well. And I actually have in queue the female CEO of Bandzoogle for a business podcast that I do. She has a pretty neat story. She rose through the company, I think, from maybe customer service, and now she's the CEO. Some years later. So maybe I hope that anyway that I can get you connected with Dave and perhaps with their CEO as well. Where did you and Arnau meet? How did you meet?
Oh, wow. Okay. Short story. I found him on Facebook. A longer story is just because I just moved back from London from doing my master's, and I was looking for jobs that was 2008. So when the recession was just happening in Spain, and looking for jobs, I was getting an interview for an ad agency, and I was searching information about the CEO online. And that was before LinkedIn existed. So I found his name on a kind of a marketing forum. And then you could search other professionals by city. And I decided just to browse around Barcelona area. And I saw Arnau's curriculum, his resume there. And I saw the little picture, because there in Spain, you put your picture on your resume.
Yeah.
And his picture was made of pixels, and he was holding a camera cap. And I love photography. I was doing photography too. Like, his resume, he's so interesting. He lives in Amsterdam and he speaks English. Wow. Maybe he's on Facebook. So I went on Facebook, searched his name, found him, and I texted him. And then he replied to me, and we started talking. And it's been 11 years now.
Wow, what a stalker.
Oh, yeah. I'm a go-getter. When I know I want something, I go get it. Anyway, this is the one.
That's a cool story. He has... which you mentioned, I saw he has a history with Apple and Apple Music, and then you talked about his musicianship, and it makes good sense that he and you found yourselves here. Can you tell me a little bit about? I think from your mention of the case study. I think I understand how it works, but probably worth going through it at a high level. So if an idea turns into a collaboration, which of course it would on your platform, and then turns into a fully produced piece, how does it, I get how it goes from idea to collaboration. And by the way, if we didn't mention it, I noticed that you have the option for everything put onto the platform as being kind of private, where you can share with, I guess, collaborators that you know or like and trust. Maybe that'll be a subscription feature. I don't know, but that sounds like a cool option. But so how does it go from collaboration to production? Like in the case study that you mentioned with the country artist or the Nashville artist and the rapper. Does the I guess all the production stuff just kind of goes offline after it reaches a point where we have something great here, let's work on this some more, and they take it to the outside the app world, and does all that stuff happen after the fact, or does SoundStorming have any ability to be involved in that aspect of collaboration?
We're not involved. We let them be in that sense. So in this case of Boone and Frico, they just decided to take it out. And we've been just following the story because, funny enough, the final piece they produced together, it's part of Boone's new IP. And it's his first IP. And he just signed up a contract with a record label. And that is for us like a major success, because SoundStorming, we always say that it's our vision is to become the go-to platform for artist discovery. And that's already happening. We just happened to be a 16-year-old put something out there. He is fabulous. He's an amazing artist, and they started like following around. They did that and put it out, and we've been following it just because we see things born, and we were part of the story afterwards. But we are not involved in any level. And probably there's more things that have happened and we are not aware of. It is what it is. But again,
Sure.
We just put the platform, and whatever you want to do it after, it's in your hands, and it's up to you. We just like to not interfere at all.
Yeah, maybe I have no idea what the future holds for you, of course, but maybe there's unique opportunities for partnerships where you have visibility on that side in the production world. But yeah, I could see that things happening, but that's the way I thought it kind of unfolded, that aspect of it just went off the platform. Are there any plans? I know that or I gather that it's not terribly uncommon for music apps, or at least music apps of this nature, to not be on Android. Are there any plans to be on Android in the future?
Absolutely. We started with iOS just because we have iPhones ourselves, and that was the first move, and just the United States market. But I have to say that in a couple of weeks, we're going to open the app internationally, so it's going to be available worldwide. And then the next step is, of course, making the app compatible with Android and keep launching features to make the experience for the artist better. And I just wanted to add one thing on your previous question about the collaboration. One of the things we have in the future is to partner up with A&R and record labels. So that might be the case because we're going to be helping them discover artists that we might be able to be, a witness of, how an original idea is born in SoundStorming, and then see the whole evolution until the track is in the streaming services. So probably then is when we're going to be more involved, probably as providing the artist discovery and seeing everything else happening. But that's part of our future plans.
That makes sense to me because I'm such an authority on such things. I'm just kidding, but that does make sense to me. I like that idea. And it hadn't occurred to me. Of course, I guess had I given it some thought, I could have guessed, but it hadn't occurred to me it's a US only based app. But I know that these things start somewhere and get their initial beachhead. That's very nice. When did you say you're going to put it out internationally? Is that going to be like a phased?
Yeah, in a couple of weeks. I think we've been in the market for a few months in the US, only just testing out the features. But again, of course, we don't want to. Of course, we're going to grow fast, but at the same time, we're trying to make things right. We just don't want to be going crazy and then have an app that is not fully functional. So for us, getting to know our users, understanding their needs, and then little by little scale it. That was our plan, and I think we're ready for being available in a global way, especially because then we're going to also allow more unexpected collaborations and mix of genres. And I think it's going to be really great to see the different influences in different countries coming together in our platform.
That's cool. I think people will like it. I don't know if you knew this. I live in Panama currently, and I think that people here would really like it. I know there's an expat community that will be able to consume it right away, and they'll like it. I'll have to share it with them. Yeah,
I would love to get those Panama vibes.
yeah. I can definitely spread the word. It's coming, so to speak. I want to mention another podcast here. The host, Ryan Carell, has been on this podcast, and he was kind enough to have me on his in the past, and I think it would be fun for you to have a conversation with him as well. He has one called Break the Business. I couldn't tell you what episode it's in off the top of my head, but I imagine if you, from Unstarving Musician, if anybody's curious, you can search Break the Business and find that episode. But he is an entertainment lawyer, and he loves working with independent artists and he also has a fascination with new ideas, and I think he would be very interested in what you guys are doing. So
Great.
I will have to tell him about you too.
Thank you. Yeah, please do.
For sure. So is there anything that we didn't talk about that I and my listeners should know about SoundStorming or its future? Did we cover it?
Let me think about it.
I know at least we should say that, lest I forget in a minute, that you can find SoundStorming in the App Store for Apple and also at soundstorming.com. And you were going to say?
I was going to say that maybe it would be worth to explain a bit how the app works or what it does.
Yeah.
Briefly. Okay, so SoundStorming is a free app for musicians or artists, songwriters, DJs, beatmakers, rappers, any music maker to record ideas, connect with other musicians, and promote themselves using musical ideas and musical moments, and or in progress music, however you want to call it. And the idea of SoundStorming is that it's very easy to use. It's a way. So let me explain how it works. So, for example, let's say that you have this idea. You're gonna, instead of using voice memos, you're gonna record it on SoundStorming. So you open the app and you click the main button, like record, and you can put even a photo of a new background for your idea. So we don't have videos, but we allow you to customize your song idea, and that is really helpful for musicians because sometimes what we were saying, it's voice memos is horrible to just track down or find whatever you recorded maybe 100 ideas ago. And this allows you to customize the background and say, hey, I was, in Chicago, in Panama, and you just snap a photo that you can put on your song idea and put hashtags and titles so it's easy to search thereafter. Then you have the option to make it public or private. If you make it private, it's for yourself. If it's public, it goes to the discovery page. And there is when people on the discovery page can, think about it as Instagram. You scroll and you start listening to different song ideas. Of course, you can search by hashtags like blues, rock. And there's one that drives your attention and wow, this is really good. And you tap on the button collaborate, and suddenly you can start recording on top of that idea. And the user is going to get a notification, say, hey, Robert collaborated on your idea, blah, blah, blah. And then you can comment, you can and you can collaborate back. Again, you can even add another layer. And you can follow people. You can DM other people. So it's a social network for musicians with the capacity, of course, that you can collaborate openly with anybody.
Does it have any hooks yet, to Instagram? So, if I have something fun happening on SoundStorming, I can share it on Instagram?
You can share it on platforms, but the user won't be able to, or the other people won't be able to listen to it unless they become a user of the SoundStorming.
Smart.
And that's against, yeah. Not only to bring more users, but also to protect our users, because then we know if somebody steal your idea or something, we know who was it. If we have always to be supporting artists and protect their ideas. So for that reason, if I share it with somebody who is not part of our platform outside, you have to become a user, and then you can. Yeah, we are working on the feature of being able to export your idea to SoundCloud or other platforms, or even other music making tools like GarageBand or BandLab. But this will come later. Right now, we're again trying to just make these worldwide, making people more collaborative and connect with each other. And with the, as we said, no subscription or in-app purchases, you will be able to do more and more things.
Well, I checked out the app this morning, and I first loaded it on my iPad. I know it wasn't actually designed for that, but it still worked. I didn't record anything, but I could tell. I could tell I was looking at it for iPhone, and I'm like, I was thought to myself, well, you made it easy to use. I can tell I can record an idea right now. I finished setting up my account, which didn't take too long, and there was the record button right there. And I listened to, I browsed, I guess, the discovery page and listened to a few things. So I think that is very nice that it is so easy to use. I have actually found, I had an interview, I believe her episode published just yesterday with an artist in Nashville. She's very young in my book, but she's a seasoned performer. She's performed at some really nice venues, and she's got some good records out already, some good releases out. But now she's thrown into this quarantine world, and and she's learning about live streaming and managing it herself. I was a little surprised that she was already finding it a little challenging, but she had she's young. She's had no problem. She was going to figure it out. But I thought, at her age, with all the things that she's been doing, she'll be able to do this piece of cake. But she's been performing at a level where she's had a team and people around her helping her with recordings and whatnot. Not that she doesn't know anything about it, but suddenly doing it on video, streaming from her home was a completely different animal. But I could see that with this tool in her hand, if she was inclined to start collaborating in the SoundStorming way, that she would have no problem at all.
That's correct. I love that you're bringing this topic up, because that's one of the problems for us, or not for us, for artists in general, about Instagram. It is oversaturated. It takes a lot of work. They say let's do a live stream video. There is so many components that you have to be able to take care of before you put yourself out there, your image, where you're recording, where you're going to do, say. It has to have a certain level of quality, and not all artists have the time, the skills, or the money to put those things together, or the experience. And when with SoundStorming, we decided not to have any video and just strip everything down to just the talent. It's when people start being drawn to our platform. We're not a competition for Instagram. I think each platform serves artists in a different way. But when you go to the basics of just an idea with no video, with the rawness of the moment that you're recording, is what artists are telling us. SoundStorming makes me feel, it takes pressure out of me. Because suddenly it's not about how I look. I'm not competing against other people because they have better looks or their aesthetics or they have the whole package. It's just me. And in a way, that's why The Voice, the TV show, becomes such a success, because suddenly you just focus on what matters, and it's just the talent. And SoundStorming is about that. So that's why it's beneficial for many people, because your anxiety levels are non-existent. It's just you sharing what you know to do. Musicians make music, period. And nowadays, musicians are becoming these, they have to be tech savvy, marketing savvy. They have to know about everything. And just before they put something even out in Instagram, there's just so much work to do. And you just want to do music, and you want to share your music, period, nothing else. And that's why we're such a strong believers, of course, on SoundStorming, because it just allows you to do just that. Put your music out there, whatever comes to your mind, and let's see what happens.
Yep, it's amazing any of us have time to work on our primary skill set of playing something or writing or singing something with all these other things we have to be.
Yeah. No. It is crazy. And I think that's the problem of today's music industry and with musicians, that before you can put something out there, even SoundCloud, you have to put a final product, a final track, something decent. And you're competing with people who have been longer in this industry, have more resources than you. It is really hard to be heard. Mm-hmm. But if you go back to the basics and you're competing at the same level, which is like rawness, whatever comes to your mind, still good quality, but no image, it's just your talent. It's like fair game for everybody. And people is more open to just open up and share.
True. I like it. Alicia, it was good talking with you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be in your podcast. I'm thrilled.
The pleasure was all mine. Hey, thanks again for listening. If you are loving the podcast, please visit unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to learn about the various ways that you can offer your support. And again, if you're a listener, I consider you a supporter, especially if you shared it with a friend. Thank you. Look for show notes and links to most everything mentioned in this episode at unstarvingmusician.com/podcast. Thanks so much for listening. With a whole lot of gratitude, peace, love, and more cowbell. Hey there, one last thing before you go. Music artists and other creators are always facing hurdles and obstacles, and life, as we know, can be a bit unpredictable to say the least. I'm here to help. Explore the opportunity to work with me in a coaching capacity and to pay only what you can afford. Just go to unstarvingmusician.com/coaching. There's a button there to schedule a 15-minute consult call with me on which you and I will figure out how and if I can help you. If we both feel good about it, we'll make it happen. I'll also answer any questions you have about how it works on the call, including the pay what you can afford thing. Obviously, there's only one of me, so I offer a limited number of slots for Unstarving Musician coaching sessions. So if this sounds like something you can use right now, go to unstarvingmusician.com/coaching to learn more and to get started. Ciao.